Okay, to all of our Patreon listeners, we just finished our podcast with Scott and Stephanie. I'm sure you were all listening to it. And we're going to jump into some of our bonus content. Scott and Steph, this is where we get a little bit more personal. And I ask you a couple of questions. So your work at ICE, can you each share a moment that really stuck with you? Something that kind of changed you as a person, parent, even a professional?
Oh, I don't want to put you on the spot, Tania. Always you. So, for the benefit of your listeners, we didn't know when you came to see one of our presentations. And so you were just a person in the crowd. And all the subsequent contact that we've had together has been a result of that presentation. And so, professionally speaking, the fact that you agree with what we are doing right now, you are the subject matter expert in this field, not me. And so to have the validation from people such as yourself, from the Saffron Center, from the Zebra Center, that we're on the right track. It's very, very nice, and it's very uplifting for us, because the day-to-day work, yes, there are moments that are difficult, that are trying. You see some of the media, and it is upsetting things. But when we get to interact with people such as yourself, and so, okay, we're on the right track, and we all agree that this is something we can make meaningful progress on, that's the inspiration that we need to make sure that the work is done, and we will continue to do it forever. Because the people who are in the know, such as yourself, are telling us, yeah, you're on the right track, keep going. Then we'll never stop because of that. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but it's interacting with people such as yourself. Steph touched on it in the opening part here. We do get positive feedback on the presentations because I think everybody wants this to be the direction that we go. Just to this point, it's been difficult as a society. Nobody wants to talk about this. It's uncomfortable. It's almost a taboo subject. But everyone leaves thinking the same thing, and it's nice to know that there is this support out there. And honestly, I think we will get there. I think we're going to win, which is nice.
Absolutely. Yeah, Scott, honestly, I think as professionals, we often say we don't feel right now, like with our youth. So Institute of Child Psychology obviously is all based on what's best for our kids. We actually don't feel like there's a more important topic out there right now. Like this is it. Like this is where we need to really channel our energy in first. So we're just so grateful to be able to have met you guys too. Steph, for you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I thought about it this morning, and it's something that does stand out in my mind since being with ICE. Is like I had mentioned, we go out into communities and we give these presentations, and we'd only actually done presentations to students maybe a handful of times. And as you can imagine, the presentation in and of itself is kind of still in development. And I believe the approach that Scott and I take is very similar to the, adult presentation, where we're just talking to them like people, right? Even though they're still kids, like we're being very real with them and trying to understand their perspective. So when we go into the schools and we tell the kids, it's not your fault that this has happened. And, we understand why you're sexting. This one moment that stands out in my mind is actually a cue card that was given to me after one of the presentations that we'd gotten from the teachers. It was just feedback, anonymous feedback from the kids. And one of the cue card, and it's at my desk now, and I look at it every day, is the girl basically had said, I appreciate that you are talking about sexting and how it's normal, but I don't want to sext. And I feel that pressure, and I feel like I have to because everyone's doing it. How do I say no? And I think in that moment, reading that card, it was just that another moment of being humbled and knowing, we don't know everything as the police. And I really appreciate my partnership with Scott because we're constantly learning. And I think it's important for us to reach out to other organizations like, ICP and Saffron and work with you, because I want to give that kid that answer and I don't have it. So I think as we grow and as, these presentations and this engagement evolves, having our finger, on the pulse and being humble is something that has stuck with me. And, that dang cue card sitting at my desk, and I look at it every day and, just trying to find answers for kids. And really we're doing it for them.
And that thank you card also brings you back to like the human being that's right there.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah. What's the hardest part of this for you?
The volume. There is too much, and there's a limit to what we can do. That's not a good answer. It's an unacceptable answer, but it's a real answer. If you gave me 10,000 police officers, fine, I could do a tremendous job. But I can't have that. That's unrealistic. So I think we're consensus on this is, and the difficulty is there's so much, but there's only so much that we can do. Now we try to spin that into the offshoot of what we talked about of, okay, well then let's try to prevent what we can, and we'll do more with the resources that we have. But it's an unsatisfactory consolation to ourselves to know that there are files sitting on a computer right now where we could have a meaningful intervention into a young person's life, and we may not get to them. And that's difficult.
Yeah. And just to build off what Scott's saying, I think the hardest thing for me is knowing that there's kids, and just knowing, because we see it, we see that there's kids out there that are suffering, that are just too scared to come forwards because of threats that people have made to them. And they're going to have to carry that, and they're not willing to go through the process yet with police. So trying to find ways to support them and really lift them up. I mean, that we have to do that as a society. We can't do that as Scott and Steph. It's not how it works, right? So I'd say that's the hardest part for me, just knowing that there's kids out there suffering, then they don't have anyone to turn to.
Yeah. And I think from the old generation, there's still such a stigma around sending nudes, about what's acceptable and not acceptable, that I think those kids are facing so many barriers that you guys are trying to tear down right now.
Yeah.
Well, it requires some self-reflection on the part of parents, because look, you would have, had this existed when you were 13, 14, 15, you would have, and if you tell me you wouldn't, you're a liar. It just didn't exist for us. And it seems so simple to me that if you at least approach it with that understanding of yourself, that stigma starts to diminish, because you won't react immediately negatively of why would you do such a thing? Well, have the self-awareness to know that you would have done it yourself, and come to your child with that lens. And all of a sudden, this is 1% easier than it was before.
Steph, Scott, and Steph, you touched on this already a little bit. How has kind of being with ICE changed the way you parent your own kids?
I mean, I can kind of answer that in two ways. I guess, unfortunately, this job, the negative impact, I guess, is that it's really hard for me to not have bias towards everybody now, that worry that someone could be out there trying to harm my kiddo. So that's something that I think I just need to work on. But it's that perception. When it's all you see every day, it's really hard to not think that everyone can fit that mold. Positively, I think I've actually embraced technology with my kid, my 5-year-old, more so than I would have before I came to this unit. And again, it's because of conversations I've had with Scott, and just as an example, she has a little iPad at home. And, when I was first a parent, I was definitely the parent that was no technology. She's going to not have any of that, no screen time, whatever. And I quickly learned that that's just not realistic. I need time to do all of the things. Sometimes she's going to, watch a show, and that's totally fine. But I understand that, I can't just withhold this from her. I have to embrace it. It has to be collaborative. So, every time I let her use the iPad, I'm taking a little photo and I'm sending it to Scott, and I'm like, look at me, I'm a good parent. But honestly, I think I've actually embraced technology in a way that I didn't think I would have. I totally thought it would have gone the opposite way. And it's understandable that it might have, but no, I'm definitely leaning in as a parent, and I'm going to start from, now, as early as I can.
On my side, it's certainly forced me to practice what I preach. It's a disservice to everyone that we go and present to if I say all these things that sound great, but then I don't do them in my own home. So it has certainly challenged me to take our own message and how to apply that to our own lives. So for the benefit of my kids, I'm somewhat more agreeable to the access to the apps. I mean, so many examples of parents where Snapchat's not allowed because Snapchat is going to be where they find you and lure you. Well, the reality is kids don't text, they snap. And if I'm telling you that maybe you have to have a conversation with yourself of, are you willing to die on the hill of Snapchat, or do you use Snapchat as the vehicle to have the conversation about acceptable internet practices? So it has certainly broadened the horizons, at the very least, of my kids, because I'm far more permissible now, because I've kind of checkmated myself in that I have to, because I'm out here telling people to do it.
I love it because it's such a different message to the complete abstinence, and then also just leave it open and everything's, non-parenting. It's in the middle here somewhere, saying you still need to lead, but it's the conversations, it's not the technology. And so that puts the responsibility back on us instead of on the kids and the phones.
Exactly. And we can't rely on the service providers either. This is the parent's responsibility. You have the contact, you are present in their lives. It's your job as the parent to do it.
Stephen, Scott, I have one last question for you. I would say right now, AI is probably our biggest unknown. Does that part of all of this scare you?
I don't know. I think we're not seeing an explosion of AI in our office. Like, of course, the potential is there for it to become more of a crime type. Like when we talk about the majority of our work, 80% of it being people sharing child sexual abuse materials. So, the typical, guy in the basement we refer to. Are we seeing AI generated CSAM? Yeah, we are. If we're talking about the sextortion and the luring elements, we're not seeing that yet, but we are seeing it anecdotally in the schools where, teachers are talking about kids creating AI nudes of their friends and then fanning them out through the school. So I think it's something that could be, something that comes across our plate at some point. But the messaging remains the same in terms of like the application of, if your nude is out there, right? And we have to consider like two really important things. One, the impact is going to be the same. If it's an AI image or if it's a real image, the impact on the kiddo is the exact same. And two, AI images in Canada, they do meet the definition of child sexual abuse material, because I know there is some ambiguity about that. And let me be clear, they are illegal. They are considered child pornography.
I think we may, in a positive light though, we've all seen AI examples online where it's getting scary because how real it is. Mm-hmm. And I wonder that, are we eventually going to get to a point where sextortion may diminish because if nothing's real, then nothing is real. You can't extort me with an image of me when I can just say, hey, it's AI, so do what you will with it. It isn't me in the first place. And if you show it to my friends, I can just tell them, well, that was AI, that's not me, I don't look like that. So do we get to this weird place where we may actually solve some measure of the extortion because nothing on the internet is real anymore? It's a strange time, to be sure, but like we said before, I mean, people have been cutting the heads off of photos and pasting them onto pornographic magazines forever. This is just a new version of that. We'll see what happens, but right now we're not seeing the explosion that everyone seems to think that there may be, and we'll just keep our eye on it.
Scott and Steph, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that we get to chat again in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.